Captain America.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. If he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Greetings, children of the screen. Your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again, coming at you with another Real Thoughts video. Before we get into this, I just want to apologize ahead of time. I'm going through a little bit of dental issues right now, and it's causing me a fair amount of pain, and so I am medicated as a motherfucker. But I'm going to try to go ahead and get through this for you guys, because today we're going to be taking a look at Captain America #2 by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Lionel Francis Yu, Gary Allen Gullen, and Sunny Gyo. So in this issue we start off with kind of a flashback to the origin of Steve Rogers as Captain America that then very quickly transitions into him fighting yet another platoon of the nuke-cloned cyborg super soldiers. And as he does, it has this really great narration like Ta-Nehisi Coates is known for, kind of going over it, and it works really, really well. It's hard to capture how different it was back then. Back when everyone served. Service made every boy a man and every man a hero. And who wanted to be a man more than me? I guess that's the root of all of this. Doing what men do. That was the deal that made me. And it's the same deal that made them. And every time I see another one of them, I see another part of me. And I think this is done really, really well. Because basically, we're having a story about Steve Rogers still confronting like his place in the world and where he belongs, if he belongs anywhere at all, and also kind of trying to come to terms with the fact of, you know, the whole Secret Empire story arc and how people treat him. And so by having the nukes, who are basically like, they're from the same super soldier program that was started off with Captain America. So while they are not literally the embodiment of him or another version of him, you get that same kind of effect where like they do represent aspects of him. And being presented with them not only causes him to have like a physical challenge, which in truth there's not that much of a physical challenge for him up against these guys, but it's more so about like giving him yet another kind of shattered reflection of himself through which he can examine his like reflection. But it's a really badass action sequence once Cap comes in. Like every shot of Cap in the suit, and that's kind of the same thing in this whole book. Every shot of Cap, Steve in the suit is just iconic as fuck and dynamic as a motherfucker. Like it really captures like the kind of iconic nature of Captain America really, really well. So then after that really awesome sequence, we go into essentially the exact same scene with General Ross that we had in the previous issue. And that is something that I want to mention in this book. I really enjoyed this issue. Like, I'm not going to bury the lead on that. But a lot of the beats in this issue are exactly the same beats from the previous issue. Almost as if it's trying to reinforce it. So you get him fighting the nukes and then working as a shattered reflection of himself. Then you get to see him, like, in opposition to General Ross, where they're both very respectful of each other, and they both clearly respect the things that each other have done for their country, but they're kind of at odds just because of the nature of Secret Empire and the fallout from that. So, again, like, you're getting a situation where Steve can kind of view another aspect of himself through someone else, which, again, is really good. But it's also the same thing the last scene was doing, and this is the same scene that we had in the previous issue, which did the same thing and was preceded by a scene that also did the same thing. Again, it's handled very well, and I really enjoyed it, but there's a lot of things in this book that feel a little repetitive like that. From there, we transition to Steve in his, like, gymnasium, and he is boxing with a hard hologram construct of himself. So again, he's fighting another version of himself, and this version of himself made of hologram is just beating the crap out of him. At which point Sharon enters and he kind of ends the program, and we get to see Sharon and Steve being very intimate, which, again, is really interesting because there were weird things that happened in Secret Empire, but I actually really kind of like this idea because I'm not going to, like, again, bury the lead here. Like, she's there the next morning. It's highly implied that they slept together that night. So those of you who have, like, the whole Captain America's a virgin, just throw that crap right out the window. I've never bought into that anyway. And, like, No. Like, but I know that some people are going to be weirded out or, like, going to think it's strange that him and Sharon are hooking up, especially, like, in a physical sense, but, like, no. Like, he's just as old as she is. He doesn't look it because he's a super soldier, but he also was in love with her. And just because she starts to look older than him doesn't mean he's going to stop loving her. What kind of, like, I know he's, like, from a different era, but what kind of, like, chauvinist bullshit is that you're trying to imply on Captain America if you're saying that, like, oh, well, like, he looks young and she's old, so, like, that's gross or weird or whatever. I actually think it's really beautiful, and I really like the incorporation of that, especially because she is working with Thunderbolt Ross, and, like, you know, it causes like an extra level of conflict there that I'm sure is going to get more interesting as this run goes on. And it's kind of cool because Coates clearly knows that people are going to like think that's weird or kind of have an issue with it, because on the very next page we basically see in the morning after they've woken up Steve being like, Sharon, you know, like, I've been acting weird, I just need you to know that's not because of you, it's not about us, that's not the thing. And she's like, don't worry about it, I didn't think that was the case, like, you're not that kind of guy. She's like, but I understand that, like, you know, you're having trouble finding your place and you want to redeem yourself, but the first thing you have to do is forgive yourself. And, you know, you need to do it not only for you, but for the rest of us as well. And as Sharon gets into a cab and, like, is taken off to work, Steve's inner monologue basically says, Sharon, you're right. You're always right. But you don't know about my bargain. And then we get, like, one frame of a woman bathed in blue light coming from her hand. And at that point, Steve goes into his gym once again, and he pulls out a little white box, and when he opens it up, it has a set of Wakandan, I guess, communication beads in them. And he picks them up, and when he does, all of a sudden, like, holographic images of the warriors from Wakanda, along with, like, what looks like dossiers on different criminals, like, who are probably working with the nuke program. That's not something that's been established here, but, like, back in the day in Daredevil, when they first introduced Nuke, like, Wilson Fisk was able to get a hold of Nuke through, like, his government contracts and stuff like that. So Wilson Fisk is one of the people who's up there. So I kind of think that that's probably what's up, that, like, there's probably, like, a bigger thing that's going on, and the warriors from Wakanda are basically, like, probably working on, I don't know, maybe some of the cybernetics have adamantium. I'm not really sure yet. They haven't really told us. But yeah, that's where our book ends off, is with, like, the big reveal of, like, Steve is working with the Wakandans, not necessarily against the US government, but in more like in parallel counterstep to them. So yeah, that's this issue. So yeah, guys, despite this book having a lot of the exact same beats as issue 1, I still really enjoyed it. Like, the writing was still really solid. Like, they opened us up with a really awesome, badass action sequence where Captain America, like, just takes down a whole army of nuke clones on his own, essentially. Like, at one point, like, jumping into the air towards a helicopter on a motorcycle, and as the dudes in the helicopter shoot at him, he takes his shield out and reflects it back at the helicopter, making the helicopter blow the fuck up, and then just, like, boom! Like, as he's going, like, flying through the air, he throws a shield and hits one of them in the neck. It's freaking insanity, and it's awesome. And, like, the kind of melancholy nature of the narrative that goes over it is very interesting, and it creates a really cool, introspective tone that I really enjoyed. I actually, one of the reasons why I probably don't mind the fact that, like, these first few beats are pretty much exactly the same as the previous issue, is just because I felt that while that was a great issue and I really enjoyed it, I felt that the way that it unfolded here was a little bit more engaging for me. And also, again, like, I really enjoyed the issue. I really did. But it does kind of feel like it is really just right there, right on the nose. Like, all of the themes and the subtext and everything, it all points in one like single solitary direction. It's like every scene that's here serves the exact same function, and that combined with the fact that a lot of the beats we're getting are the same beats from the previous issue, it something that, like, for me, when I was reading it, it was not a problem because it's so well put together, but whenever I step back to think about it, that's definitely something that I noticed. So I'm hoping that's something that will be improving in the third issue. I know that, like, there's going to be a Captain America in the world of Wakanda thing, and I don't know if that's going to carry on through this book, or just if it's going to be a bunch of one-offs, like they did one for X-Men and they did one for Spider-Man and that kind of thing. So I'm interested to see where the next issue goes, to see if we're going to get more into the plot, and to see kind of exactly what we're in for with this book in general. Right now it kind of feels like Coates is doing like the TV thing where like the first 5 episodes are your pilot, so you have to reinforce the same ideas and characters and archetypes in order to get people to get a sense of like what the standard is, what the status quo is, and that way like you're able to shake it up down the line. So yeah, the writing in the book really solid. The writing is good enough to transcend or like, you know, distract you from any of those issues that I just mentioned while you're reading it. The artwork is freaking phenomenal. It is just dope. Like I said, every shot of Cap is just iconic as fuck. And whenever he's Steve, he looks like the all-American man. Like, it's just great. The art style rocks. It's definitely better than like the stuff they were doing when Mark Waid was on the book. So yeah, guys, this book, while it's definitely a recommend because I definitely enjoyed it, and I think you guys will too, that kind of stuff about it mirroring a lot of the same aspects of the previous book is going to cause me for this week to give it 3.5 out of 5 GGs. But you know what? That's still not bad. And this book is still way better than I originally thought it was going to be, and I am really enjoying it. Right on, children of the screen, but that's just what I thought. Did you check this book out this week? What did you think? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get updates on all the dope content I'll have coming out in the future. And furthermore, guys, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I will have the link for that in the description below. Thank you very much, children of the screen. I hope you all have a good one. Nerds scum out. Jesus, it sucks, man. How is it possible I haven't taken enough drugs? How?